welcome to Healthy Kingston, a health promotion and wellness program of the Kingston Board of Health. I'm Janet Wade, your host. I have one announcement from the health department in that there will be a Safe Serve course that will be offered on Monday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It is $80 for the program, and you're asked to go by the health department and pick up your manuals ahead of time and be familiar with the material. I've read it all through before the course. So with that said, we have a special guest today who is our current police chief. He's been in position for close to a year now, and I'm very happy to welcome Police Chief Brian Holmes. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks, Janet, for calling me special. You made me feel special already.
Well, good. You are. Absolutely. You are one of the linchpins to the town. So with that said, can you tell us a little bit about you, your background, and how it is you ended up here in Kingston?
Sure. 53 in September, so I'm almost there. Married. I have a son and a daughter. Both are adults. I grew up in Avon. I got involved with public safety at age 20 as a dispatcher, and I worked my way through part-time police and fire. 1997, I went to the Stoughton Police Department, spent 27 years there. In Stoughton, I was in charge of operations, day-to-day operations, the investigative division, internal affairs. I did a lot of community outreach in different levels of the department while I was in Stoughton. Probably about 8 months before I got the job, I was starting to look at chief's jobs, because when you get to the position of deputy chief, the chief that's there now is she's got the equal amount of years of service as I do. So you get to a spot where I know that she wasn't going to be going anywhere. She was very well liked in the town, and I just started looking around at the next step for me. So I looked at a couple of different police chief jobs. I was pretty selective, and when I saw Kingston open up, I did my own research on it, which any candidate for police chief should do,
Sure.
And ordinarily would. And it reminded me a lot of Avon, so it was the right fit. Felt like kind of coming home, even though Avon is about 1/3 the size of Kingston. That was what made it seem like the right fit for me.
Right. Terrific. Well, Stoughton's loss is Kingston's gain, so it's wonderful to have you here.
Thanks you.
And we were talking before we started. I was asking you about how you feel about the town. What do you think the health and safety concerns are? Kind of what are your goals while you're in this position?
So the town has a lot of really good things going for them. I mean, some of the things that I see is the workforce is fantastic. The people who are here, they want to be here. They want to do the great work of the town. I see it in the police department. I see it in the fire department. I see it with my interactions on Evergreen Street at the townhouse and through like the rec department. They've got a gem. There's some nice things in the town. The rec department is very active and involved. We have a good partnership with them. The Adina, the boat ramp, I have my lunch down there every other week or so because it's quiet. The town has a gem in that. I mean, they have a harbor master that gets the job done, and they're stipended, but it's really not a lot of pay for the amount of work that they do and the service that they provide to make it safe and facilitative for the boating community. So the town's got a gem in that. I see a lot of good in the town. We have a good interaction and a good working relationship with the health agent, Joyce. I see a lot of potential for the future. It's very clear that I've made it public that the department is underfunded and understaffed, and I'm working with the elected officials to determine how it is that we create some growth in the staff. One of my things coming through the door to the Kingston Police Department is I'm a very strong advocate for the mental well-being of the first responders, like the police on the street. And I want the people to know that they shouldn't be ashamed if they need to talk to somebody on peer support. So I'm a strong advocate for that. As far as the community, the two biggest issues that the business of policing has seen an absolute explosion in nationwide is mental health and substance abuse. So it's for that reason that I made one of our goals to establish a family services unit. Shortly after I arrived, I got the authorization of the Board of Selectmen to apply for a grant through the Massachusetts Department of Mental Health's diversion program that would give us a full-time clinician, mental health clinician for mental health and substance abuse. I wasn't really qualified for it based on the town's population until I brought up the idea of using it as a clinician for 3 towns, Kingston, Plimpton and Halifax, and they got both of those police chiefs on board. So the statement of interest is there. But what ended up happening probably in September is the governor ended up putting a freeze on those funds. And the new fiscal year has the funds going from 18 million down to about 3.8 million. So the communities are going to lose the access to those clinicians. So it's been one of my goals to make it so that we have a resource through a co-response clinician available for us and those other two communities, that if we're responding to a domestic violence type incident or an incident where there's recurring mental health that keeps coming up, that we have a licensed mental health clinician and we have somebody that's an expert in the field of mental health.
Wonderful. Currently, what is the training for the police officers in de-escalating situations? And I know personally and in the community, people who have had mental illness and the family distraught, they're trying to get them services, they don't know how to do it. How can they work through the police department to address not only their family member, but also what comes next, what type of services they can reach?
So two parts. You asked about what we can do, and you asked about training. Massachusetts Municipal Police Training Committee, that's the police academy. It's a state-run organization, and they're the ones who mandate the training that we do every year. This year's training, there's a 2-hour mandate on autism. It's an online program. I just did it Sunday night. It's 2 hours on learning the signs and symptoms of people who may be suffering from anything on the autism spectrum disorder, how to respond, how to interact, how to de-escalate, how to minimize the triggering of these folks, and the best appropriate way to respond so as nobody gets hurt. But the MPTC changes their training every year. We've gone through crisis intervention training. We've gone through mental health first responder training, and that has been through the MPTC. There's different grants out there through the Department of Mental Health and other resources. So the training changes from year to year. We have a ton of it. One of the first things that I did with the command staff is I gave them a copy of the book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Dr. Travis Bradbury. So my discussion was, in my first staff meeting was, if I'm asking you folks to understand and work with others, it starts with first understanding yourself and how your brain works and how you formulate thought and how you go from rational to irrational and then back again. And everybody read it. It's been a discussion point. Everybody's got a copy of the book. But I'm a strong believer in the application of psychology to the job. So there's a lot of resources in there. We're going to continue to march. We're going to do everything we have to do to have our people trained as highly as they can be in terms of de-escalation and understanding human behavior. The second thing is Massachusetts police officers have the statutory authority to hospitalize somebody in the event of an emergency, and it would be a hold under Massachusetts General Law 123.12 to put somebody who's a danger to themselves or a danger to others into an emergency room situation where they can be evaluated by a psychiatric social worker. That's a last resort. We try to provide resources through Plymouth County Outreach. There's a mobile health crisis unit that's offered through a state agency, multi-health mobile crisis team. That's for people that are on Mass Health. There's a lot of resources, but my job is to make sure that the command staff knows what those resources are. In a worst case scenario, anybody can call 911 anytime. We're open 24/7, and those calls are answered directly at 244 Main Street for police and fire.
You're definitely right on it. As a health professional, I'm very happy to hear that mental illness is at the forefront of what your goal is in dealing with the community. I don't know if you're aware about it, but Beth Israel Deaconess recently did a community health assessment of all the towns on the South Shore. And one of the primary concerns is mental health, and particularly depression. So I find all that you're saying very reaffirming and feeling a lot more comfortable as a resident in knowing that the issues of our residents are being addressed. With that said, when do residents call the police? When should they call the police?
We wear many hats in the world of policing. We get called for everything.
Really?
You can call, and we'll be able to tell you whether or not it's a police response. And sometimes it's not a police response. But anytime that there's a crime happening, anytime there's a family dispute, I mean, we do a lot of de-escalation just with families. Like,
really?
People will call things in as a domestic violence incident, and it's our job to determine is a domestic violence response incident. We still document things. We follow the state's domestic violence response guidelines that's put out by EOPS and effectively the governor. So we follow all those guidelines. We know what to do and when to do it. People can call us anytime. It doesn't have to be for a bad reason. We've heard from community groups that want to engage with us. We've had people that are concerned about traffic. I'll work with anybody and I'll meet with anybody. And it doesn't matter if it's, if it's a group of people that have the shared community of interest concerning mental health, and they want kids to have a day for people specifically on the spectrum and do something for them. So people can reach out to us anytime. I mean, it's not just me. We have a very healthy and hardworking command staff that they want to engage with the community as well.
Tremendous. As a parent myself and speaking for area parents, what are you seeing as the concerns of teenagers, young people in the community?
So I see mental health as just rampant. It's anxiety and depression with teens is worse than it's ever been. Teens have access to social media that opens up a whole new world. The proliferation of marijuana, it makes it so much more accessible to teens, and that puts a whole different curve on parental issues. You have a culture of parents that are not afraid to tell you that they smoke marijuana, so that now introduces it into the home for kids that are coming into that adolescent age where they're kind of exploring things. So we're seeing plenty of that.
Really?
The mental, I know that Silver Lake Regional is very well prepared to intervene in terms of a crisis that any kid might have had on the home front the night before. They have a trauma response team, as far as I know. If we're able to get a mental health clinician, we'd be able to bridge the gap even better, even though we have a great relationship with the schools. There are some privacy, you got HIPAA, FERPA, things that make it so that they can't necessarily talk to us when we're trying to just do the right thing. So we're seeing a lot of that.
Okay, so, a continuous wake-up call to all of us that we need to keep communicating with our teens and, getting the services that they need. So thank you. Seniors, what about the other end of the spectrum?
So we have an elder affairs liaison, and they love him. Like, he's got a presentation coming up for, the most recent trends in fraud. And, we're seeing it that, there's one where somebody will call posing as a grandchild saying that they need money and they need to get bail.
Oh.
And, they're in a place where you can only send a gift card, so go to CVS and get the gift card. There's a whole bunch of trends out there with that. So we're seeing a lot of that. I do office hours at the Council on Aging, just so that, I'll let them know that I'm here. I was doing it once a month. The holiday season kind of took us off track. I'm working with the director down there to get back on track. And, I think it was like every Thursday, once a month to come in. So we're seeing a lot of that kind of thing with the elders. I think one of the other things that you might see now and again is elders that, maybe shouldn't be driving. And we'll hear from the parents, the children or the kids that are now adults asking about what to do. There will come a point in time, I had to do it with my own mom, where I had to take the battery out of her car. Because she had 5 sets of spare keys, and my next door neighbor got the phone call, and he asked me, well, hey, there's no battery in here, what do you want me to do? I said, leave it with no battery. So that's a common thing.
Sure, yeah. Wow, well, good for you. What do you do for your peace of mind? Good heavens, your head must be spinning at the end of the day.
Sometimes.
Good Lord. Lots going on.
I do a lot of reading. I just recently started skating again, playing hockey. I do a lot of trips to the gym. I interact with my kids if they're home on the weekend. The youngest is in college, and the oldest is she's married and she's a nanny, so she's not living with us.
It certainly gives you a good perspective on, reality, real life and parents and raising children and,
Yep.
all that you've been through with them.
There's home improvement. I can swing a hammer. If I find time for it, I do a lot of that. So if I can do it myself, I will do it myself.
Great. Watch out, Amy Belmore might be in touch with you with Habitat in your spare time. What services, it sounds like anything you need, does the police department offer that we may not commonly know about? Like, I know you will take medication that's
Yes.
expired or non-expired.
Yep.
Any other services you offer that the general public may not be aware of?
Since you brought up the drug drop, it's in the lobby. What we see now and again, and I want to make a shout out so that people understand. We do not want syringes. People are putting syringes into that drug drop, and you're putting the detectives who have to dispose of that at risk for getting stuck. I've seen it before. It's like somebody's going to lose peace of mind when they've been stuck. If it's a bad one, they might have to go on the cocktail to make sure that they don't get anything from that.
Right.
So yeah, we do the drug drop. We're putting together a Citizens Academy for adults. For a while now, we've done. Are you interested?
What's the Citizens Academy?
Citizens Police Academy is nighttime training where it's just we have members of the department that'll teach the public about policing and what it is that we do.
Really?
And the goal is to create an understanding of who we are and what we do because we're undersold in that, or traditionally years back have been. So you get to come in and sit in some of the classes, and all things lead to an interactive role play where you're in the driver's seat and everything's done in a safe environment, but you might be in a situation where the role players are putting you in a shoot, don't shoot situation with simulations or airsoft.
Whoa.
So that's being developed right now by two of the sergeants. That's coming up. One of them does RAD. One of the sergeants runs RAD with rape aggression defense. They also have RAD kids, which will be taught in the schools. The SRO at the high school is a professional boxer. He's got his professional card. Just started a program, the KPD Silver Lake Regional Boxing Program is through partnership with the school.
That's great.
So he's doing that.
Well, that's what I'm wondering if this might cultivate, like you said, it sounded like you got into police work at the age of 20, young people being exposed to this and maybe wanting to be like you and move up in the ranks.
Yep.
A real incentive for people to get involved.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So we take on internships, and a couple of those interns have ended up on the police certification list to become full-time officers. But if they're working with any universities, they get academic credit for coming in and doing certain things, but they get ride-alongs. We get a chance to get to know them a little bit.
Yeah.
So we've been doing that for a while.
What I'm curious, what colleges locally have those type of programs,
Well, internships is if you're in a criminal justice program, it's towards the end, junior or senior year.
Right.
And they'll give you a certain amount of hours. Most of them, it's 120 hours that you have to come in. I work with Stonehill, Curry, Endicott, Bridgewater.
I did not realize
Suffolk.
all of those
Oh, yeah.
had programs.
They all have an internship coordinator so that there's academic involvement so that they know what the student is doing, the hours are documented. They'll often make a visit to the department to make sure that, things are being, academically sound. They want it to be a learning experience, so we've done that for a while. We have a certified school resource officer full-time at the Silver Lake Regional High School, and there's part-timers at the middle school, the intermediate school, the elementary school, and the Sacred Heart School. Sacred Heart was recently added. We actually got through partnership with the Silver Lake Regional School Committee funding that they've agreed to give us to put a full-time school resource officer at the middle because we feel that it's way past time based on the student population, the types of incidents that they deal with.
Really?
And they've agreed to use some of their overflow money to fund just the salary. So there's going to be some growth there.
Can you give us without being too invasive, all of us kind of a personal wake-up call as to what's going on with middle school students these days? I hear they're growing up real fast. What type of things might you be dealing with these kids?
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these feeds have opened up a whole new world for one student versus another student having a dispute that just goes on forever. My generation, you'd get in a fight and it'd be over. You can't do that anymore. But the disputes go on and on forever. And I've always said that when you come to middle school students, that's where the problems begin, and a lot of it is tied back to the household. So if you have stability in the household and you have a parents who are appropriately involved, you can on an academic level in terms of the school doing their job administratively, you can deal with a parent that can help mitigate the problem of whatever the disciplinary issue is in school. So you get a lot of that. I mean, kids are at that age where they're starting to want to discover more stuff, do more stuff.
Right.
Some of the low-level dating relationships are starting to happen.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's always good to have a sense of reality and what's going on. So what can we as citizens do to help you better serve the community? How can we support the police department?
That's a great question. There's a very long series of answers I can give you, but let me try to trim it down because you're coming up
Right,
on
the Cliff
time.
Note version, yeah.
So, we do have a request in for an override, $500,000. One thing that people can do is reach out to their selectmen and put some support forward for the needs of the police. I will say candidly that there has been a lot of support for funding us to keep us where we are and not cut bodies from the department and not layoffs. But there has been an absence of growth, and it's no one person's fault. The absence of growth is probably 10, 15 different cooks in the kitchen from successive boards and committees. So what you've seen is a population growth of 33% or so since 1997 or so. And the demographics in the town have changed a bit. So we are really trying to catch up from a lack of staffing that should have happened incrementally over the last 20 years. Getting involved in showing up and getting to know us, like if we do a Citizens Academy, we'd love if you live in Kingston, come on in. We want to talk to you. We want to show you who we are. We want to teach you who we are, and we want to hear who you are. There's concerned committees, groups of people that reached out to me prior to my start date, believe it or not, talking to me about their concerns for traffic. And I said, no problem. I'm happy to meet with you. We've met with the group. Originally, it was going to be, it's about 10 or 12 people. Myself and Lieutenant Bateman showed up, and there was about 65 people in the room.
Wow.
On a nice hot summer day. But, it's a conversation, so we're happy to do that. What else? Try to get to understand us. Follow some of the social media pages. Look at our Facebook page. Look at the things that we're doing in the community, because you're going to start seeing more and more of it. Like I said, I found that the group of people that are here are professional. They know their job. They know it well. They know what to do. And you're going to see us talking publicly more about that.
Wonderful. Well, I certainly feel very enlightened and very pleased to meet you. And you're certainly doing some dynamic things. The Police Academy sounds wonderful. And the grant to work on getting more support staff for mental illness in the community is wonderful. So with that said, I think it's important to remember that we as residents of the Kingston community are in a wonderful position to support the police department, who are really there for our benefit. And that, yes, do speak with, our selectmen and influential people in the community about supporting the police department. And very appreciative for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're very fortunate to have you and all of our policemen.